Hey guys, in this video I will show you basics of digital compositing in OpenToonz. At the end of this tutorial you will learn how to turn static landscapes into motion with nice but fake 3D camera effect. Enjoy! So first step is of course to download this image, and you can do it from pexels.com. As you can see here, it's absolutely free to download and absolutely free to use. Second step is to download this image into your favorite image editor. For this example I'm using Photoshop, and this is not Photoshop tutorial but OpenToonz, so I'm not gonna explain how I resize the image and fit it into 16:9 aspect ratio, and also I'm not gonna explain how I separate these hills into different layers. If you're bored of doing this thing, separating this image into layers and fixing the aspect ratio, you can just download my project file, PSD file, in the description below that I set there for you. So as you can see here, these layers are separate. We have the foreground, then we have the middle one ground that I extend a little bit with the clone tools just when I start moving the camera, just to have some space there, to not have the white gap that is separating them. And also I have middle too, and there is also sky as a fourth layer. So if you're doing this by yourself, just save it as a PSD file, and after that it's time to play in OpenToonz. For this particular example I'm going to use a timeline workspace, and I'm just gonna take out the things that I'm not going to need. What I'm going to add here is going to be one extra viewer, because we're gonna play with the 3D space. So I'm just gonna use the left viewer for 3D view, as you can see here, and the right one is actually gonna be what camera is seeing. Now it's time to import our PSD file. From the browser menu you locate where's your PSD file and you just drag it down here. Now OpenToonz is asking me if I want to import or load. Basically I like to import my image files just to, to have it also as a backup in my original folder, and also to import them into the project of the OpenToonz, just in case that I delete from the original location. And now we have load PSD file, and it's gonna ask in this menu if we want to load this as a single image, as a frames, which means that in one column we're gonna have this layer stacked, but what we want is actually to load this as columns, which means each layer is gonna be a separate column. As a level name, I'm just gonna keep the layer name that I put in Photoshop, ignore groups, that's fine, and press OK. Now if I go to the timeline workspace, we have our image over here, and also as you can see here we have our columns, and if I switch to X sheet, you can see that they're named exactly how I named them in Photoshop. Okay, time to play in 3D. Control space to rotate, just space to pan, and mouse wheel to zoom. So let's proceed. What we have to do now is to separate each columns and to move them on Z depth, and with that to create basically depth with these layers. So to do so we're going to use Animate tool, and from there we're just going to select each columns, and as you can see column 1 here, and I can see here column 1 is actually a sky, and what is column 2, 3, 4, etc, etc. So let's start with the column 1, which is actually sky. So this is already selected, column 1. I'm going to choose position, and here as you can see there is a Z, which represents actually the Z depth. So Z depth has different values. As you can see here, they're a bit different from digital compositors like Adobe After Effects or Blackmagic Fusion, because Z depth here it's not showed in pixels but in fields. We're gonna actually eyeball everything. We're gonna use our eye for this thing, so we don't need to know how many fields is how many pixels is one field, etc, etc. The starting position is 16 fields, and that's all we need to know for now. So with position selected, column 1 selected, we press Ctrl button, and now as you can see on this purple arrow, we're having option that says like Z, which means that we can move this layer into Z position. So as you can see here now how I'm moving this away, and I'm gonna move this like really far away. Ctrl Z to rotate, so it really goes far away until, yeah, okay, so here actually even in the viewer is losing it. So I'm just gonna keep this distance. Now as you can see here through the camera cannot actually see this this layer because it's too far away and it's too small. To fix this issue, we have to use scale tool, and with the global settings we just basically scaling it up until it becomes visible in the scene. But there is one very cool option. So I'm gonna reset everything back to 100%, and that's when we go to position menu. Here we have our Z numbers, which is 130 fields right now, and we have fields in these brackets. What we're going to do, it's maybe hard now to understand, but just trust me on this. To save yourself from scaling it and matching this viewer, etc, etc, what you're going to do is just to copy these numerics from Z, and you're just gonna paste them into the brackets. You paste them there, you press enter. What happened right now is that this image was scaled but in this viewer and not in our 3D scene. So basically now it has, on this distance, it's scaled up to its original size to fit actually the original like coordinate, original the dimensions. Column 2, which is column 2, it's middle 2 layer. So I'm gonna use Control and I'm gonna move this one. As you can see how its fars go away, because this is a 3D space, of course how far away it goes it becomes smaller as well. So I'm just gonna drag it somewhere here. I don't want to scale this image. I'm not gonna do it like people are doing in other digital composing software. OpenToonz has something very good, something much better in mind, and that's just like to use underneath this bracket, just copy this position, press enter, and boom, you have exactly the same size of this column like it was in its original image. Okay, moving on. It's gonna be column 3, which is gonna be middle 1. Okay, so Control, and I'm gonna put it, okay, let's say on maybe this distance here. Same thing, copy Z, paste it here, press enter, and boom, it's there. It's not like that in the 3D viewer. Everything of course looks smaller because it's a distance, it's on Z depth, but as you can see in the camera view everything is matched perfectly, just the way we like it. Also the last one is column 4, which is actually foreground. So foreground I'm gonna just also just to separate a little bit from the camera distance. It's just gonna be there, let's say somewhere here. We're gonna tweak this maybe after if it's not how we like it. So I'm just gonna like paste it here and everything is on its place. So now if we go to the camera, we choose position, we press Control, and now if we want to move, we are already seeing how the depth is taking place. So how cool is actually that? So now we have this small gap here, but don't mind, we're gonna fix it after. We're just gonna zoom in the camera, and to start animating we're just gonna switch back to the timeline. You can of course use XSheet if you're used to that one, but I'm just gonna use it like this. Let's determine how long is going to be. this movement. So we can just like, okay, let's say we're gonna have it like for the 60 frames. So I'm just gonna extend these columns to be 60 frames long. And now we're ready to animate our camera. To make my life easier with animating the camera, I'm gonna call function editor that is actually gonna help me with the position and also with numerics, what I want to animate and what I don't want to animate. So we're right now the frame 1, and we're going to choose a starting position. So camera 1 is selected, Ctrl Z, and I'm just gonna move it like this, move it inside, and also I'm gonna, okay, so this is gonna be my starting position. As you can see here, it's already keyframes are already set, so everything is on auto key right now. And I'm gonna now look forward to the last keyframe, which is gonna be number 60. And here I'm gonna move this bit like so. I'm gonna maybe try even to up the image, not so much like this, because it's gonna start revealing the gap that I clone. So if I scrabble right now, you can see that there's definitely some 3D happening. So I'm just gonna play it in loop. So if you're not satisfied with the depth movement, if you want to move like the background more or less, what we can actually do is just we're gonna modify that a little bit. So I'm gonna move back to the frame 1 just to not make some auto key frame with the rest of the columns. So I'm gonna pick the column that is far away, which is actually column 2. So with the column 2, I'm gonna press Ctrl and I'm gonna move this more way back, closer to the background. And again, I'm just gonna fix my Z depth and scaling like this. And maybe I'm gonna also move now sky a little bit more back. Copy, paste, enter. Also just to move a bit more up like this, the sky. Okay, so back to our timeline and let's play now. So as you can see, now is definitely like bigger separation between these midgrounds, foregrounds and backgrounds. And that's basically it. This is like how simple and how powerful OpenToonz is, even for the digital compositing. And I was absolutely blown away when I find out that I don't have all the time when I'm moving these separate layers in the background to the Z depth, that I have to rescale them to match the viewer, etc, etc. So basically you just copying this field from the Z space into this bracketing, and image in your camera view is gonna stay fixed how it should be in the original. So this is like very frustrating for me when I'm doing digital compositing in other softwares like Fusion and After Effects, because I'm doing all this kind of scaling things all the time, like matching, fixing, tweaking, and here actually with one button I'm fixing all this scaling issue. So here's for the end, there is one extra trick to just like fake this 3D depth. And what we're going to do now is actually we're going to add something that is called Shear. So we're going to select the columns one by one. Maybe we're not going to touch the sky. Let's start with column 2. And what I'm going to do is just like gonna shear this a bit, not too much, just let's say 13, okay, 20, maybe it's too exaggerated, but doesn't matter. Okay, let's say for the first frame I'm gonna do this shear on 20, and I'm gonna, here in the function editor, I'm gonna select this column 2, and I'm gonna go to shear horizontally, and as you can see, it's right here, the keyframe. So I'm gonna scrub to very end, or maybe frame 55, and at the frame 55 I'm just gonna reset back horizontal shear to 0. So now you're gonna see what actually I want to achieve with this shearing tool. So as you can see now, how I'm scrubbing through this animation, it has this kind of fake 3D rotation of the camera. So isn't that cool actually? So we're gonna move to the next one, and we're gonna also do, oops, I forgot it's minus or it's in plus. Okay, it's in minus, I guess. Yeah, it's minus. So let's go to the column 3, and let's press shear horizontal just to -20, enter, and it's there. We're gonna go to the frame 55. We're gonna change this shearing horizontal to 0. Again, if we now scroll through our animation, we can see this fake rotation going on. Okay, here we can see like a bit of white gap, but that's not the problem at all, because what we can do now is also to do a bit of scaling. So we're just going to do global scale on the frame number 1, which is 104. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to move to the keyframe 55, and I'm just going to reset that scale. Just like that. So now when the camera moves, there is absolutely no problem with it. Okay, one column left, and now we're going to column 4, and we're gonna do exactly the same thing on the frame 1. I'm just gonna go to the shear, I'm gonna press -20, just like that. Scaling is not necessary, as I can see from here. And on the frame 55, oops, sorry, I'm gonna press 0, and if I play now this thing in loop, and there you have it. This is how you can turn your landscape image into faked 3D scene with nice camera movement and depth inside. If you have any suggestions, please write it down in the comment section. If you're interested to learn more about OpenToonz, you can check also my Udemy courses, that is also in the description down below. And until the next time, bye bye.